and welcome to another Maven Time at the Fundraising Nest. We've waited a long time for this one. One of my favourite people is joining us today, Shanelle Clapham, who is just full of energy, and I can't wait to chat to her today. Shanelle, welcome to the Fundraising Nest Maven Time.
I'm really glad to be speaking with you today, Michelle. I fully expect that you're going to lift my spirits.
I'll do my very best. It can't go unnoticed. I love that you put on your badge as we were getting ready to record. I'm voting yes. We don't want to be too political here at the Fundraising Nest, but I think it would be safe to say we believe in equality and everyone being given the same opportunities. So let's not lean into that too much, but nice to see your badge there. Shanelle, I'm not going to introduce anyone to who you are and what you do, because the whole point is to hear that from you. So Shanelle Clapham, tell us who you are and what your world of fundraising looks like.
Oh, that's a good question. My world of fundraising. So I started Parachute Digital about 12 years ago. So we work exclusively with nonprofits and have for 10 of those 12 years. I wanted to work in this space because the stories that we have to tell are just the best. Like, they're so inspiring, they're so interesting, they're so heartbreaking, they're so real. There's not a lot of faking in this area. So I guess my world of fundraising is very much around storytelling. And I'm biased because my background, like, I started my career wanting to be a journalist.
Yes.
And didn't quite make it as a journalist because I thought I was going to be an investigative journalist when I was like 25, and didn't really know that I had to write what I was told to write for most of the first 20 years before you get to do any investigating. But I sort of fell into marketing and then into fundraising to use my writing skills and to do that storytelling. And then digital, I just fell into digital, but I've just I love that you get that immediate feedback on how people are responding to a story or to a piece of content or to an ask or an opportunity to support. I like that, you can see exactly what works and what doesn't work. That you can track everything. You can optimize on the fly so that if something's not working, you can work harder to make it work. You're not stuck with whatever you pegged all your hopes and dreams on before. You can pivot. But I guess
tell me the name. What Parachute Digital? How did you come up with that?
It wasn't the most strategic name, to be fair. I was working with a designer on what I wanted the logo and the look and feel of the organisation to be, and I wanted it to be something with nature. And so, I'd be given all these different images of like trees and grass and flowers and bees, and the dandelion was one of them. And I loved when you zoomed in on the dandelion, how you could see all these different kind of what we call the florets, but it reminds me of the World Wide Web, which is the all the interconnective tissue and all the links out that make the internet. But the florets of a dandelion are called a parachute. And I had I sort of chose the image and the look and feel, and then I was still trying to figure out what the name would be, but I had a kind of tagline, which was, we guide you through the digital landscape, and it's sort of about being an adventurer where we want to be brave, and we want to be bold and try new things and explore and test and learn. And so Parachute kind of came with that adventure. It worked with the nature element and this enveloping you and supporting and guiding and keeping you safe. So that's kind of one of Parachute's point of differences, really, is that we will teach and mentor and train people how to do it. Like, if you want to learn how to run a Facebook ad campaign, we'll teach you how to do it so that you don't have to use us forevermore. So that's where it started from. But I think we're kind of, I hear other brand names and I was like, damn it, I wish I'd come up with that one. But,
No,
Yeah, it
it's
was,
awesome. I love it. And, the philosophy of the fundraising nest was born out of that teaching that, when I was a youth worker, we teach young people, they retain so much more information through this Dale's Cone of experience. But when you teach someone something, they retain it like 10 times more, and I love that philosophy. It's about sharing knowledge and peer-to-peer learning. I've learned most of my stuff from other people. So I love that. Listen, 12 years ago is a long time ago in terms of digital. You must have seen some incredible advances in Digi, and also maybe one of the first kind of out there doing Digi. It's a big question, but what significant changes have you seen? And I know there's going to be pre-COVID and post-COVID, but can you summarize anything?
yeah. So I started in digital in 2004, and it was pretty much websites and search
Yep,
and email. And, you know, they're still the cornerstones. So I guess social media was the first big shake up. And, Facebook launched in Australia in like 2008, 9. Um, and then, but its dominance that happened in the late 2000s and 15, 16, 17, 18. But just how powerful Facebook is and how evil Facebook is and how much that is a struggle in our sector to be needing to work in this space to reach people but not wanting to support some really not
the mentally, ethically wrong.
some ethical problems, not wanting to spend money in there, but also in fundraising, we're so reliant on the return on investment. Everything is about being efficient. And we work with charities who have smaller budgets. So we have to put money in the place where it's going to be the most effective and the most efficient. And that is like, if it's Google first,
Yeah,
you can only find the people that are looking for you in Google. So there's a finite amount. Whereas Facebook is the most efficient. It's where the 50 plus women are hanging out these days, which is
yeah,
our donor heartland. But we've spent a lot of the last couple of years trying to really advocate for charities to divest from Facebook and to invest time and energy in other channels to try and make them work. But at the moment, still nothing works as well. I guess the next big thing that I feel like for fundraising would have been mobile payments, like
yeah,
NFC payments, so Apple Pay and Google Pay, and the tap
yeah.
paying that we didn't have just a few years ago, and COVID really was the game changer for Apple Pay, like that contactless payment just taking off. And I think that's the
Yeah.
next thing we're going to see is now that browsers are having Apple Pay and Google Pay and you don't have to pull your credit card out of your wallet and type it in. I think we'll see the shift between people donating on a computer versus donating on a phone. I think that will shift faster
Awesome. Yeah.
now. I really thought that would have happened 5 years ago, but it was slower. But COVID has made that change come about.
Yeah, I mean, even moving from New Zealand to Australia, what a difference I've noticed in the transactional. Everything is on your phone here. I mean, I don't have Apple, so I've got Android, and even the train, like my key card on the train tops itself up, and I'm thinking that is we know the technology is there, and that's I love how we need the world to innovate because charities can't afford innovation, but we can use the technology that's there and innovate off of that. And I think there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah, charities can totally afford to innovate. They don't have the resources or the
Yeah,
skills. Like that's pretty much why we offer this mentoring and capacity building, because when I started the business, I thought the biggest problem in the industry, and this is in 2012, I thought the biggest problem was a lack of skills and a lack of digital knowledge. Like I was one of the only digital fundraisers. So I tried to do training. Like I
yeah,
was like, right, we'll do digital training, and there's lots of interest, but no one wants to pay $600 for a 1 day training course. or a 12-week training course that is the best way to do it. So I ended up consulting because it's really hard to get bums on seats. Like,
Mhm.
charities don't invest in the training budget. But so how it's ended up manifesting 10 years later is that now if there's an organisation investing in digital and partnering
Mhm.
with us, we reinvest back in them by doing the mentoring and the
Okay.
training, because
Brilliant.
that's what everyone needs.
Yeah.
Um, and quite often, like, there's so much changeover of staff
Yeah.
happening in the world today, and the great resignation and the, quiet resignation and all these like catchphrases that have been
Yeah.
going on. But I've been able to create a great culture and really retain my team. So a lot of
Yeah.
the time I've had people for 4 years, and we're holding the institutional knowledge for our
Yeah.
charity clients because people are leaving. And, you
That's
know,
good.
so, you know, we try to build up the industry knowledge of digital because it will come back to us.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And yes, that is one of the big kind of goals here, is to advocate. If only organisations are looked after their staff as well as they know how to look after their donors, we would have a whole different world of fundraisers. And I think it's super important, that knowledge. So when we talk about digital, I remember listening to a talk a few years ago where Asia, particularly Japan, their fundraising is 100% digital. And I think that scared everyone. And the message was, be ready to be fully digital. And everyone's response was, how can you have a digital bequest program? But I think what the ethos behind it was that everything starts digitally and then traditionally has its own ways. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think where we are going, should we be preparing for a fully digital world of fundraising?
No, I
No.
think people are multi-channel,
Yeah.
and they always will be. I think that, and we're seeing it in our families, in our children, in our friends. Like, we are very invested in our phones, and addicted might be the word.
Yeah.
Like, it's compulsive behavior, but nothing replaces having a conversation with a human. You can't, online is still um, it's very private what we do online. Like, we don't want people looking over our shoulders. We don't want people reading our
Yeah.
emails. We don't want people reading our texts. We might share a tablet, but we don't want to share our phones, really. So if you can engage with somebody online, and if you can get them to read content, they're doing it because they want to, because they've chosen, but there's something in it for them. They're
Hmm.
not doing it altruistically. Whereas we can influence people if we can talk to them. That's why telefundraising and face to face are still
Yeah.
much better at acquiring donors en masse and on volume, because nothing is going to replace that human looking you in the
Yeah.
eye and saying passionately, this is important and I care about this and you should care about this. We can't give that online.
I love that.
I think online is excellent at lots of things, but it's not always, it is a direct response channel. It's kind of like, once I've been inspired, once I've got the idea, I might go online and look, or I might look for validation,
Right.
or online
Yeah.
might be where I convert. But often the seed is planted elsewhere. Like, we're the end of the road. We're not the beginning of the conversation. And I think people are truly, like, we're seeing more direct mail people give online, but we're not seeing any new people give online that never gave already. Like, people
Wow.
are either
Yeah.
multi-channel, or they're very digital only, or they're very DM only. But most people will donate on the phone. They'll donate by putting money in a tin. They'll donate by doing peer-to-peer. They'll donate online or via
Yeah.
face-to-face. Like, people are multi-channel, and it'll be about who and when they're inspired, or somebody that cut through. It won't be a
Yeah.
channel. It'll be
So
a
true. I love reading. Yeah, I love reading. And when I'm in a reading phase, I can read a couple of books in a weekend. And my husband thought it'd be doing me a great thing when he bought me a Kindle, and I hate it. I'm like, I can't use this. Just give me a book. There's nothing like, holding a book. And so you're right. Digital can't replace the experience of how you feel. And our job is to to give people an enjoyable experience that they feel, and that can come in many
Well, it's
ways.
also like, because I read on Kindle because when I travel, it's a lot lighter
I
and it's
know, I know. I would rather
easier.
lose weight, and I
And I
took
can
about
make,
4
now that
books
my
with
eyes
me.
are going, I can make the font size bigger. But I love having a library. I love,
Yeah,
like, my sister just came to visit me and she's like, "Oh, I need some books. What books have you got?" But more than half of the books I read now are on Kindle. So I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh, I just read this great thing, but I can't loan it to
yeah.
you in the same
Well,
way."
if you came to my house, I could loan it to you because I have real books.
Yeah. But yeah, people are multi-channel in every way.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you love that? I mean, I think you've kind of described it through storytelling, but what is it that still kind of that's still after 12 years that just when you need those moments of inspiration, what is it you love about what you do?
The storytelling is definitely thing, but it's like there's an immense amount of satisfaction and pride and feeling of contribution and actually doing something worthwhile in raising money for charities that you know is going to have this exponential impact. So, we did a first ever appeal for a small Indigenous organisation called the Go Foundation. They'd never done any kind of mass fundraising. All they'd done is a few, like, silent auctions or a gala dinner or something. And we set the target at $50,000 and we raised 50 grand in the first
Wow.
weekend. And they raised $156,000. And it was like, we don't have enough kids. We're going to have to get more kids to give scholarships to. And so they were tallying it up and they're like, so we're going to have to find 50 more kids that we can give a scholarship to because of this money. And that kind of stuff is why, like, and part of me wants to be the person working with the kids or being
Yes.
an advocate on the front line, naming and shaming, but it's so tangible, and unfortunately money is a lot of what makes this
Yeah.
world go round. And we see organizations that are inundated with clothes or with food or with blankets or in-kind donations, but you're like, we just need money because
Yeah.
that's what people need. There's only so many blankets. Like, we need to give them money so they can use it in whichever way they need. So I
Definitely.
I
So,
love the feeling of satisfaction of raising money that I know has this multiplier effect,
yes.
but also just seeing the evolution and telling the stories of people is generally my main motivation. I think that being connected to something that's bigger and better and more important than my life.
Absolutely. I think it would be very easy, particularly right now, to just read the news and just give up on the world. You're just like, it's gone to shit. There's so much. And, people say to me, how can you work? I've often had, why can you work in the charity sector on top of that? Because, there's so much. And it's like, actually, we're so fortunate. We get to see how much good is going on in the world. We get to see how much good people want to make a difference, want to change lives for people. That's actually a really good space to work in. On the flip side, it can take its toll. It's hard. It's not easy. And that was my next question to you. We have to be real. Being a fundraiser, being a leader in the charity sector, it's hard. We go that extra mile because we give a shit, and it leads to burnout. And sometimes we're not rewarded. And there's another side to it. So what is it? I guess that you don't like, or that fears you, or yeah. What would you like to see change?
A bit more bravery.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, again, I'm biased. That's one of my values and one of Parachute's values. But I feel like there's so much conservatism, or there's so much like lack of willingness to try new things until it's been proven by 5 other charities. No one else is prepared to give it a go.
Goodness.
I wish that there was a bit more just plain talk and a little less bureaucracy. Um, and people are so scared about losing their government funding and stuff like that that they won't do certain things because it might risk this, and they might get 5% of their funding from the government, but they won't do something that could have raised an extra $5 million to not risk that relationship. I just wish there was a bit more bravery, and it's easy for me to say that when it's not my funding
Yeah.
that I might be losing. But we also know that the opportunity from the public is bigger. Like the fundraising industry is massive. And yeah, it might be a bit easier to get some of those government grants than to fundraise from the public. But I think there's a lot of missed opportunities because people are conservative, because they're understaffed, because they've got board members that are all from the corporate sector that don't understand our sector and don't really have much interest in understanding it because they're volunteers.
Yeah.
I think that, it's stuff like that I want to change. I
Yeah.
think that business is a dirty word in this sector, but I think if we ran our charities like
Yeah.
businesses, just in terms of a investment, return on investment portfolio, it would be different. Like we would
Yeah.
have better staff retention models. We would have better profitability. Like,
Yeah.
and we can do more good with more money. Like,
Absolutely.
and there's just some funny things in this sector that I think need to die out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And okay, moving on from digital, Shanelle, who's Shanelle? Who's Shanelle outside of Digi fundraising? Where could we find Shanelle on the weekend? What do you get up to?
Travel is probably the thing that I love the most. And so I spend most of I work to fund adventure and travel, but I am an extrovert in case you didn't notice. And so I'm very much surrounded by people. Like
Yeah.
I'm the one that's like, what are we doing this weekend? Which winery should we go to? Since I moved to Tassie, I'm a bit of a bushwalker or a
Yeah.
tramper, as they say in NZ. Um, I am absolutely like a cheese and wine connoisseur. Not connoisseur because I'll eat and drink all of it. I'm a bit of a booze hound, trying to be a grown up now that I'm 45 and need to be thinking about my health, trying
Yeah.
to have more alcohol 3 days a week when really I just want to drink all day, every
I
day.
know. I know. I'm approaching the nearer 50 soon than I am 40, and it does give you the shit. It does spook you a little bit, doesn't it? I've not been to Tassie. I can't wait to get down to Tassie one
I'd
day.
love
You'll have to
visit
show
you.
me.
You're welcome to come
Yes,
stay with me anytime.
take me around these wine and cheese places. It sounds fabulous. We're just about at the end. The last question I always ask all of our guests is, what advice would you give to your younger self that you didn't know then that you know now?
It's okay to agree to disagree. We don't have to all agree. Sometimes we have to make a decision, but we don't have to all agree.
Love it.
Have to get on with it.
Yep, absolutely love it. Shanelle, it's been an absolute delight chatting with you today. Shanelle is one of our Mavens, and we do have, our Mavens have been quietly in the background these last few months while we get the nest up and running, but we do have some exciting new plans to involve in the Mavens as the new year enters next year. So we will see more of Shanelle next year, hopefully. But until then, Shanelle, thank you so much. And we'll chat next time.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.